Hello, all my cosmic friends, traveling with me in the Milky Way. I hope you guys are doing good. So this is Sunday, what is it, the 8th, 2024, of course. And I have a series of charts to take you through, all leading up to the full moon. I don't think I'll go past that date on the 15th because it might take too long. But I can't just jump into the full moon without first telling you about Mars retrograde that just started on Friday. So it began at 3:34 p.m., as you can see, Pacific time. So adjust to your time zone. But, it's already happened. We're in it. And because it's one of the faster moving planets, like Mercury and Mars, when they go retrograde, we feel them more. We feel that energy more. And that's, it's just the way it works. So I wanted to, just talk about this chart a little bit first. So we have to remember that when it comes to Mars retrograde, with this one, landing in Leo, here's our Mars retrograde right here, starting out at 6 degrees, 10 minutes. It's going to go, it's going to stay in Leo, retrograding in Leo until January 6th, and then it's going to go back into Capricorn, what am I saying? Cancer. So it's going to affect those, all those signs. So those of us who have are, the luminary sun and moon or any other planets, or the planets, I should say, in the fixed signs of Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, and Aquarius, as well as the cardinal signs. So there's, Aries, Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn. We are all going to be feeling it. And if you want to, check this out in your chart, you just need to find wherever you have, 0 to 6 degrees of one of the fixed signs. So again, if you're a Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, or Aquarius, and especially if one of your, like your sun or your moon, or your ascendant, or one of the hot points, ascendant, descendant, IC, and midheaven, if it falls there, it's going to be important for you, 0 to 6 degrees of a fixed sign. Or when it comes to the cardinal signs, again, that is Aries, Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn, then you're in that range of about 17 to 29 degrees of that sign. So those of us that have placements there will be, especially affected by it. Now, I'm not going to say that means it's in a bad way, just because, Mars is the planet of war. But you know what? I was born with Mars retrograde. And of course, it went direct by progression by the time I was in my late 30s. But, I've just learned, because I'm old now. I've learned all of life is a power management issue. And with this opposition between Mars retrograde, so Mars is going to start going backwards, right? We're in an approaching, which makes the energy stronger, alignment, an exact opposition to Pluto, which we already had. That already happened. And in fact, the whole thing was set off right, well, I think about the beginning of October, if I remember correctly. But anyway, without bogging you down with dates, just if you can feel into the energy of Mars, where think of it rules your first chakra, it rules your blood, it's what keeps you grounded. Well, a lot of things keep us grounded on the earth, but it's what really has you in your body moving in an instinctual way, a lot of times without thinking, right? You're just moving, or you feel the need to move, or you're frustrated because you can't move in the direction that you want to go, or you're moving in the direction you wanted to go, and then you hit a wall of some type. And it's because, and the wall of some type could be anything. It could be that suddenly you're really tired. There's a power management issue. Too much energy going in the wrong direction. That's a power management issue. Getting into arguments that waste an incredible amount of time. That's something to explore, like why we engage in certain things. And it gets us into trying to figure out, like, well, wait a minute, what, is this person trying to control me? Because we're talking, again, power management issues, and with the opposition to Pluto, Pluto can be pretty darn controlling. Now, on the bright side, Pluto in Aquarius now, for the next 20 years, is going to bring up issues of, humanity. And here we had, what's his name, Bashar or whatever, I don't even care about his first name, but Assad, the monster in Syria, who has been a dictator there. There's been this, like they call them, like the narco family or whatever, because they're just so tied to drugs. Well, they started their reign of terror in like 1971, or they got in power in 1971. So what did that give him, like 54 years? Well, he was out, he ran, they all ran, and now they're living in, I guess they earlier today made it into Moscow safely, or Moscow, I don't know how to pronounce it correctly, but, the people ran him out. That's the power of Pluto and Aquarius. So again, we have a lot more power than we realize. I don't know if you want to get violent with it. I don't. But, when push comes to shove, it's like we're all going to go down for something someday in our lives, and maybe it's a good idea to just start thinking about how to manage our power so that we're in the place that we need to be to remain peaceful. So with that opposition there, that's really the main thing that I just wanted to bring up. I could talk so much more about or address the issues with Mars, but I'll just sum it up by saying, it's what you will fight for. It's what you want. Mars will always help you go in the direction that you want. So you do need to look and see where Mars is natally in your chart. And you would want to look at any transits that happen, with this Mars opposition, because this is in your chart somewhere, right? And yeah. So anything else with Mars, I think I'll just kind of keep it in the back of my mind and or the forefront, I don't know. And let's just go ahead and move on to the next one, because we also have Venus moving into, or has already moved into, Aquarius. That happened the same day, so Friday, but it happened at about 10 p.m., 10:14 p.m. Now, Venus it's now conjunct with Pluto. You can see how it was before, but now we've got this exact, right? And Venus will clock her way forward pretty quickly. Before we know it, she'll be into Pisces. But Venus and Pluto together can make for some, really intense love relationship experiences, or some super powerful opportunities to make money, because we have to remember Venus rules our self-worth, our abundance, pleasure, what we value. And in Aquarius, it's all about making new friends and networking with kindred spirits. Venus will help us unite together in some ways and bring in more harmony in other ways. We have to be careful with indulging. In Aquarius, it's more about, I think, probably being online too much or glued to the screens, and which is the reason I put it on dark mode, so that it's easier on your eyes. I didn't want you guys staring at this, and I didn't want to stare at it for another hour, because I've been staring at these charts for 3 hours, like, well, not 3 hours, but doing stuff in between and keep having to go back and all the screen time on our eyes is not good. And you can have a blue light blocker on all your devices, but it still takes its toll. So just think in terms of knowing that Mars is moving backwards, Venus is moving forward, but Mars is moving it back into that direct alignment with Pluto as the days go by. And Venus with Pluto in Aquarius does bring through that ability to be inventive in a new way. I feel like with the Mars-Pluto opposition and everything else going on, it's a really good idea to simplify as much as possible. Truly just simplify your life as much as possible. If you think you have to buy all kinds of Christmas presents, think again. Because Mars retrograde, for all of us, we're not going to have that same amount of energy. And it all depends on, who you're giving gifts to. If they're teenage kids, they pretty much just want a gift card, and so they can go buy whatever they want. Unless you're, have such a good relationship and you live close enough by, you can just go take them shopping and spend some time with them. That would be the most, that'd be a really loving thing if you can do that. But the deal is, when it comes to the holidays, it's usually an overwhelming time for a lot of people in the first place. And in the second place, we're going to have, with Mars retrograde, less energy to deal with the holidays. So again, simplifying. I confess that I don't have my tree up yet the other day, and one of my viewers said, the best thing you can do, she's cracking me up, she said, throw a bunch of pine cones, I think she said cinnamon and something else in there, pine cones, Christmas pine cones, in a bag, tie a bow on it, and set it on the table, and there you go. So there's a good idea. Talk about simple, So, okay. So with Venus moving forward in Aquarius, we'll keep an eye on it, but we'll have her in Aquarius for the whole next month or so, and actually less than that, because I'm pretty sure. I know that by January 3rd, she's already in Pisces. So, she's going to just clock right forward and no retrogrades. With Venus, we had no retrogrades all of 2024. So, okay. Mars retrograde, however, this little monster, he's going to be bugging us all the way through to February 23rd. Mars will station direct February 23rd. And then, of course, we're going to keep having that Mars opposition Pluto that we had before. But Mars won't get out of that retro shade, when we're totally out of the shadow, until May, like May 2nd. So it's an incredibly long time. And usually we have Mars in... we usually have Mars retrograde. Well, it makes it through one sign in about a month and a half or so. And when it's retrograde, it can stay there quite some time. But man, to have it stay all the way through to next spring, that's a lot. So simplifying, figuring out what we really truly want, how we want to live our lives, and to start planning. Mars is really good for moving forward, but we do need that balance of structure and planning, and and we get that from Saturn. We get testing limits, all of that. So, okay, so now let's go ahead and go, because I can talk about Venus and Aquarius more later on. Now let's go ahead and go to Neptune stationing direct, which was yesterday, about 3:43 p.m. Pacific. And you can see Neptune here at 27 degrees. So basically, the way my program works, all of the planets or placements that are in red, and if you're colorblind, yell at me and I'll try to remember to, well, actually, I'll just say it. I'll just tell you. All the planets that are retrograde are in red. Okay, so we can see Jupiter, Mars, we can see Eris and Chiron here, retrograde. Uranus, of course, is still retrograde. And so far, Mercury's still retrograde too. So we're still having, communication glitches. I mean, Mercury won't be out of the retrograde till January 3rd, like I said, but and the nodes, when the nodal axis is retrograde, I don't really pay much attention to that. If you're an astrologer and you do, and there's some secret, about that, please let me know. I tend to just kind of blow it off. But here's an interesting thing that I started noticing. You probably were noticing that we had 2 trines and 1 sextile up here with the other charts. But now we have this mystic rectangle, and it stays. It stays in orb all the way through to January 3rd. January 3rd is a day that Congress is sworn in, if it gets sworn in. But by then it'll be, the Venus and the Moon over here in Pisces. But for now, because the Moon goes around, makes another whole rotation. But next month, we're going to see it here again, but with Venus. So I don't know if I'll get to that chart today, but this mystic rectangle is a really cool thing. We have sextiles at both ends, 1 or 2, we have 3, and then we have trines at the other end. To me, that forms 2 aspects of the architect, which has to do with building something. Now, with the sextiles, there are opportunities, but we need commitment to manifest. We have to work it. And the trines just bring in that fast flow of energy if you commit. Okay? But again, with Mars retrograde, we're back, and especially opposing Pluto, and Ceres is in there now in the mix, bringing in that element of what matters most to you. And it's the holidays. Who doesn't know somebody that died close to, crossed over, graduated, however you want to, transitioned back home to their true home during a holiday? Think of all the accidents. Think of all the car accidents. Think of, just those things happen, right? Well, Ceres can be about grief and separation, and we can be feeling that very, very profoundly with Venus and Pluto there. Okay? So I want to say that when feelings come up, please honor them. Grief comes in waves, and I don't know that you will ever stop missing your loved one or your fur baby or pet or what, of any type. Grief comes up for all different reasons. So, just honor when it comes. But we do have to be careful with numbing out, because we still have Saturn and Neptune in Pisces. But now Neptune stationing direct. Just a note on that. It went retrograde back in July at 29 degrees and 55 minutes. So it was like right there, really close to moving into Aries. But then it went retrograde. And it's going to have to get back to that 29 degrees, that point, to get out of that shadow, out of the retrogradation shadow, or retro shade would be a better way to say it. And that doesn't happen until March 27th of 2025. So, this is such a slow-moving planet, we might not really feel it going direct, but just remember that Neptune can bring on feelings of wanting to numb out, and especially if we overdo it, with the Mars-Pluto opposition. And Aquarian energy can kind of go into withdrawal. It's not, it's an air sign. It's not, Libra's an air sign too, but at least Libra's got that bridge. But, Aquarians, it's kind of like, oh, I don't need to feel that. Oh, that's stupid to have those feelings. Or, oh, the pride can set in. Well, you know what? If you're feeling something, it's good. It's good to feel. We never want to cut off and detach from the heart. That's the lesson with the polarity between Leo and Aquarius. There is core power in the heart chakra. And, third and fourth. We don't want to mess with that. So when we stuff down feelings, or when we want to rise above that and transcend with, Neptune, we risk, we literally risk avoiding, which is, can be a Virgo thing too, but we risk, and so I'm speaking to all the Pluto and Virgos out there. You always have to, like us Pluto and Leo generation, we got to be careful with our narcissism and our will, it's my will or my way kind of crap, or demanding energy, right? Demanding attention, like you know who I'm talking about there. But the Pluto and Virgo generation is so powerful when it comes to sinking into divine order, but you have to be careful about going into avoidance. That's one of your pitfalls. So anytime we avoid feeling what we need to feel, we are literally, going in the wrong literal direction, which Mars is trying to bring us inward into that core energy, core heart chakra, core incarnational task, which is to feel whatever you need to feel. Your feelings will never kill you. As long as you're not trying to, as long as you don't want to hurt yourself or hurt someone else, you're going to be fine. A lot of people are just so afraid to feel. Now, I'm not talking about actual physical pain. I mean, we have anesthesia and drugs for surgery and all those other types of things that we have to do to, get our body in the way it needs to be. It's like taking your car into a shop sometimes. But when it comes to the emotional body, which is your soul power, that when it's all clear and when it's, well, I don't know if we get totally clear in one incarnation. You can do an awful lot of work though. But the clearer your soul, the clearer your emotional body is, meaning you can kind of just flow with the energy, you can flow with what's coming towards you, and you can stay connected to what is the right way to go for you right now, which is always going to be different than someone else's. We're never in a one-size-fits-all, body. It's just, that's not how it is. So the important task is to honor the fact that it's good to feel. It brings in more life force. When we're out of emotional reaction, which puts us into a place of I have to do this or that, and I can't feel this or that, or I have to control this person. Again, back to the power management issue in Pluto, right? So detaching can be good if you catch yourself going into that emotionally reactive material. But what I like to do better is to when you feel the ire up, or you feel the complete letdown and deflation, then go into that place and go, what is it that I really, really want? What am I trying to get? Or what do I need to feel because I didn't get what I wanted? And that will take you into the real feelings, and then you can process those real feelings through, and then you can clear out that whole quagmire of vicious circles and be done with it, right? And you might have to do that over and over and over and over and over again until you're done with whatever that core issue is. But that is the best way to use this opposition between Mars in Leo and Pluto in Aquarius, because we're talking power management issue that can transform. That's the thing is, we have, with the oppositions, we always have confrontations, but those confrontations can bring in breakthroughs, and especially with all that Aquarian energy there. So if you're brave enough to go into whatever the feelings are, I think you're going to be fine, and that brings through that other part of the mystic rectangle, right? So the mystic rectangle is a place where you can have all these planets working together in a strong, balanced way so that you can process something through and integrate and then be done with it. And we all have this opportunity all the way through to January 3rd. So that's the reason I wanted to really focus in on that. And then you can see, this was already done yesterday, but the moon conjunct Saturn was... It brought in a more serious vibe yesterday. It really did. We could all feel that. So, okay, I think I'll go ahead and go through to now we can look at that full moon. So we've lost the little trine here. I'm sorry, the little sextile down here. But it'll be back later. But so focusing in on the full moon. Now, the full moon, it will last. It brings in a peak experience of releasing energy. And it's going to last, it has an influence of about 2 weeks. So you can see the moon's here at 23 degrees, 53 minutes. Let's just call it 24 minutes of Gemini. So that's the actual power of the sun, the moon reflecting back and forth, the bright consciousness that's always there. In Sag, it has to do with both of the moon and the sun at that 24 degrees. We're in that decan, the third decan of the sign, where something is blooming. Something's releasing. I look at Gemini and Sag as sometimes, and I'm not going to say which ones because either one could be it, but truth versus lies. To me, Gemini gathers tons of energy, gathers tons of information, I should say. And we get really curious. When the moon's full, I'm thinking that there's going to be a huge release of information. And with this opposition here, that this could be something political that happens. There's that possibility. But for the most part, we are still going to be grappling with, because of the square to, see how the full moon here at almost 24 is square. Here, let's do that. Let's focus in on this aspect right here. See how Neptune's at 27? The full moon is at almost 24. That is squaring Neptune. And it's also the sesquisquare up to... It's Venus, and see how Venus, look how fast Venus went. Venus is already at 9 degrees, but Ceres and Venus together, that we've got detours and disruptions here. Oh no, wait, this is Jupiter. I'm sorry, this is Jupiter up to Pluto. Ooh, that's a big... That could be something that actually could be another type of like attack on some system. But you know what I'm thinking, really, because we can just gather the facts. Now what I'm trying to do here is predict something like, what am I a week ahead, right? Literally, 1 week ahead. But if we gather the facts from before. Which is a very, mercurial thing to do, and Mercury's still retrograde, but because Mercury rules Gemini is why I'm going here. With Jupiter, well, just remember what happened a couple days ago. We found out that Romania had actual proof, that, of course, Russia had attacked their election and changed it. So they annulled that election, and they're going to redo it, I guess, in the spring. I wish we could do something like that. Maybe we can. Maybe Biden's going to throw down his, presidential powers and declare an act of war, because it was a cyber war. That's the thing. Everything's a cyber war nowadays. This is what I'm seeing here, right? Aquarius, cyber, ruled by Uranus. It's in Taurus, and it's a physical manifestation, something of value to some other foreign country, right? And then we also had that 7.73 or something earthquake at the one corner of the San Juan de Fuca fault line, the one that connects from Northern California, like around Eureka area, to the Oregon fault line, which is San Juan de Fuca. And there was that, thank goodness it was so far out into the ocean that there was no tsunami. That is Uranus in Taurus. So until Uranus gets out of Taurus, which won't be until, oh goodness, I'm pretty sure it's well past May. I'll have to look. I'll have to check on that again. So anyway, and then even when Uranus moves into Gemini, then there's even more energy going into cyber wars. Again, because cyber here with Aquarius and the information grids in Gemini, and all of this done for a political reason, So I'm wondering if this full moon, because this will be a week from now, if the full moon will bring out even more proof that our election was hacked, because I do believe it was. I think some of it was bought off by Leon, as Trump calls him. Can't even get his name right. The guy won't leave him alone. But then again, he seems to be his little side piece for a while. But anyway, and don't go there because I didn't mean it that way. But it's weird. It is weird. But anyway, the deal is he put out, it wasn't just the lottery that he did, where people would put in their names, and I guess it went to Twitter, and then there was another account set up, another website set up where he was paying $100 for a person to sign up to give them $100, and that, I think it was part of the lottery, but they got $100 for just signing up, no matter what, and they gave their name and address. So that went into some type of a thing of information, a vault of information or whatever, and I believe that is what Elon gave to Putin, and I believe that is part of the reason we were hacked, because too many votes were changed. They got greedy with the whole thing, So okay, so that's, we've determined that in the past. And if you don't believe me, do your own research. If you don't want to believe that, then just don't listen to me. But I believe it. So, and I'm not a conspiracy theorist. So here we are, a week after that, or actually probably more than 2 weeks. It's been about, from right off the get-go, I was like, what? Wait a minute, calling AP, Associated Press calling the dang news. Calling the vote on the news, like just within like 3-4 hours. That's ridiculous after an election. There are votes still coming in. They haven't certified anything yet. And the votes have to be certified and gone through the curing process, which takes, that's why we don't have the certification of the electors until Christmas Day. So, okay. But with the opposition, of course, with the sun and the moon, that's always an opposition there. And then the other point of the sesquiquadrate here, connecting up to Venus. Well, Venus has that way of bringing harmony into what seemed to be a very interesting situation. And then especially with Pluto coming down here, connecting with Jupiter. Again, Jupiter is going to expand something. Even though it's retrograde, it's still going to expand. It just won't expand as big, or it will actually, I should say, it will expand us back in time. And we will have more information that just, okay, now what do we do? Because plans were definitely disrupted, and they think they have a plan for the inauguration on January 20th. But do they? Or will something be dropped around this time? Either a few days before or a few days after? Makes me wonder. But for you guys personally, you're going to want to look and see where this, 53 minutes, 23 degrees of Gemini lands in your chart, what house it lands in. And if you have your chart, you know your chart, but you don't know so much about what the houses mean, I created a document. If you email me, I'll send it back to you really quick. It's just a PDF. There might be some errors, and if you want to help me, if you see some grammatical errors or typos, let me know so I can fix it. But I'll send it to. I'll turn around and send it to you as soon as I can. So because you're going to want to know, where all these placements are in what houses, because each house is an area of your life. So the full moon in Gemini is going to energize your curiosity. It's going to release maybe a lot of information that you've been holding on to or wondering about. It's going to help you question things more. It's going to help with learning or releasing information from within that you have been filtering through. Now, Gemini is also, it can be kind of a squirrel sign a little bit, but it's really, really good for gathering information. But sometimes that information just comes in way too fast. So we, can kind of shut down. So you have to be, careful. It's always good to take notes, and then you can go back and look at the notes and because you're gathering information. When the moon's full, there's going to be a lot of it, and you take the notes and you have your journal, and then you can go over it later so that at least you got the information down, and then you decide whether or not you want to commit to something or not, right? So now, if there's any emotional issues that come up on the full moon when it's in Gemini, it would be something around that area of, and this is especially true with Mars and Leo as well, but not being understood, not being heard. We have to be seen or heard or understood on some level to have a healthy level of creative self-expression. And that combines the Leo and the Gemini energy there, or consciousness, I should say. So, yeah, what else with this full moon? Oh, yeah, back to what I started on, and then I got distracted. The square to Neptune. And as the moon moves forward, and it won't be long, because the moon moves a half a degree every hour, so 1 degree every 2 hours. Won't be long before it's in Cancer, and then we'll be kind of, subjectifying maybe, or psychically feeling, intuitively trying to figure out, is this what I want to grab hold of? Or do I need to let go of something? The Cancer can be, just think about the crab. And it goes back and forth all the time. So, do you want to keep it? Do you want to let go of it? You're going to pinch and grab, or you're going to let go, right? So, and then here we are with Venus in Aquarius. Some relationships, there might be some separation going on there because Ceres is, catching up. That's only a 7 degree orb. Actually, it's about 6. Yeah. So anyway, back to Neptune over here. As the moon moves forward every degree, it's going to come into an exact square. And Neptune brings in distortion. It brings in gullibility. It brings in, on the dark side. I mean, on the good side, it can bring in so much beauty and all of that. But we have to be careful again with Neptune. We have to be careful about numbing out. We have to be careful about being maybe just unconsciously insensitive. Because when there's a full moon, people are more sensitive. And if you're numbed out and not feeling, if you're not, like thinking of sitting in their moccasins or walking in their moccasins is a better way to say it, but sitting in their place, you might have, especially with Mercury still retrograde, in very honest, shoot from the hip Sagittarius, you kind of, you can have a little recipe for something you didn't really want. And that's especially true because look at this trine. We've got this fire trine here between Mars, that wants to go fast and get it done, or is in defense around things, a power management issue again. Remember, there's that fast flow of talking, saying something, or you didn't say it the way I liked it. I don't want you to say it that way. So they're going to try and tell you how to talk or what not to say. And then you're over here with this other fast-moving flow of the North Node in Aries, which is like independence. Excuse me, I'll say whatever I want, and then I'll suffer the repercussions, but please don't tell me what to say, kind of thing, right? It could be something like that. And then again, it's back to, okay, wait. Maybe it's a waste of energy. Maybe the whole thing is a waste of energy because, again, the emotional reactive material that was up. Because of the opposition, right, to Pluto. I mean, it's all right here. I mean, how many times do you have to see the same signature, right? That's what astrology is all about. So, when it comes to Neptune, we need to be sensitive with Neptune and Pisces especially, because the challenging side of Pisces energy is it can be into victimhood and all over the place, but won't take self-responsibility for what they did or look for their part in it. So if you're bumping up against someone like that with your, emotionally curious Gemini moon energy somewhere, in your chart, or if you have your moon in Gemini right here at that degree, my goodness, just know that you're going to want to be careful about who you engage with and talk to, because you might not get the truth, or you might get something that's just projection of whatever their issues are, and then the demands because of Mars in Leo, retrograde or direct. It's going to, you can have demands. And I don't know how you guys are, but if anybody's demanding of me or telling me I need you to, or any needy, glomming, manipulative energy or forceful, aggressive, invasive energy, I go the other direction. I'm not going there. I'll fight for something I really want, but it's not going to probably be much fun. And don't we mostly just want to have a lot of pleasure and fun in our lives? And nobody wants to be lied to, and nobody wants to be told what to do or pushed around or invaded, or, especially when you already set a healthy boundary and they come in again because they didn't get it the first time, apparently, even though you've said it how many times? Stuff like that. And then this other inconjunct here with the going on during the full moon. The inconjunct will be an adjustment or something that needs adjustment because it's bugging you, something feels off. And it can be right in the body, like empathing something, and you feel it like in your body and in your nervous system, and it's like, what is that? Because the sun is shining directly. This is an exact hit going on here. We don't get an inconjunct unless we've got a 0 to 3 degree orb. So, we really pay attention to those. If something feels off, it's going to trigger you in the place of, is this true? And if you're feeling like it's not, you're going to feel it in your body too. There's, empathing abilities here. But, you'll know which way to go. But so trust yourself if something feels off. And the best way to deal with the Mars retrograde is to take your time and go slow. Try your best to not be impulsive. And that's especially true because, with the conjunction that everyone's going through of Chiron in Aries up to Eris, that really is the lesson to be careful about, being impulsive. So if we get into our old patterns of like trying to take care of others, or we get into our pattern of abandoning ourselves in a relationship, or if we get into our pattern of being clingy and dependent, we need to be independent. We need to learn how to take care of ourselves, right? On all levels, because that's what brings us into wholeness. So all the work we do going in that direction is always going to pay off. And Eris is sitting here, holding space for that courage to do that. We all have this. We all have Eris in Aries in our charts. And we were born with Eris in Aries because, she's been there since 1926. Okay, so is that it? Well, let's see. I covered the grand fire trine. We don't have the complete mystic rectangle yet, and I'll cover that later. We did the Pluto series Venus. We took care of that. The nodal axis is still the same. It's, peace versus war. It's love and relationships that mirror what is loving and in integrity, because there's equality and fairness and justice. And over on the other side, we have independence. That makes for, those two polarities make for really good relationships. But, with that nebulous Neptunian energy, that's what I could talk a little bit about more before we close it up. That, and I want to hit this Saturn square Jupiter, which that's not too bad because it's, those are builders of the zodiac. And squares aren't bad. The squares are, they're tension fields, but they help you get things done. Or they help you realize, you're going in the wrong direction, right? They seem to be a call to action, but they will eventually help you master the issue between the two planets. So I'll just go here real quick. So between Jupiter in expansive Gemini, or Jupiter expanding the mind in Gemini, and then Saturn over here in Pisces, the test of mastery is to, again, come into your self-responsibility of being compassionate and sensitive, but also including all the parts of yourselves. Just because something isn't the way that you think it should be doesn't mean it isn't right and it isn't already perfect. And then when it comes to like a character flaw you think you have, well, maybe it's just something in distortion. That's one of the first few laws of the universe. It's like it's all one energy. It's like the electricity in the walls. Well, now it's in the wall socket, right? Since it's been integrated into homes, it's a great thing. Well, we can use that energy for anything. Or we could be stupid and stick something in the wall socket and throw ourselves back across a wall. You know what I mean? Like we can electrocute ourselves accidentally or on purpose. if you're, a kid trying to discover, like, no, you can't do that, and they don't have parents watching, or somebody else didn't watch, or whatever, those things happened, right? So the energy's all one. It's just, again, back to that power management issue. And the power management issue is to, how do you want to use your power? So it's as simple as that. I think I've said that 6 times already, but therein lies the issue there, right? Because there's a lot of expansive power in Jupiter, but it's about the mind. And then over here in Pisces, you really have to take self-responsibility. This is your spiritual foundation right here. And you're tested every day. Saturn is so good for being cautious and serious and disciplined and accepting your self-responsibility, that you're the only one that is creating your reality. Doesn't mean you got a perfect, I believe we all choose, what we need to work on in each incarnation. But the truth is that whatever hand you were dealt, so to speak, you're the one that can play the game. In fact, there's that old book, what was her name? Florence Scovel Shinn, The Game of Life and How to Play It, written in the 50s, right? This information, all this astrological information, all of the spiritual laws, all of anything that we need to navigate through life is already out there. It's already been channeled. It's already out there. And you have it all within as well. And so you don't need really anybody telling you the rules. You just need to feel into what's right for you, and then always think of loving and being kind and all that good stuff. So there we go. Sorry about that. That brings in that other, square, that leg of Neptune to the moon again. Excuse me, hold on. So you just have to be careful with the Neptunian energy to not distort it in a way that brings through any lack of self-responsibility. Because the challenging thing with Neptunian energy is there's no boundary. Now Saturn brings through the boundary, and in fact, the Saturn-Neptune generation back in the 50s, it was it in Cancer? No, I think it was in Libra. Yeah, it was. That generation brought through a lot of good architects. They're still out there too. I mean, and there are more, because Saturn will hit up Neptune about every 30 years. So it's nice to have the two in the same sign, because we're kind of testing our limits, back to Neptune being boundaryless. Is that the right word? Having no boundaries. It's good for transcending the limitations of the past and trusting, like really trusting your higher self. Neptunian energy is all about your higher self, and then Pisces has no boundaries, no limitations. And so you can really get in touch with your intuition and your imagination and creativity. It's very mystical, and it can be a really beautiful experience, especially for anybody who's an artist of any type, which I'm sure that we all have artistic abilities of many types. But it can help unify something that was previously kind of split off or challenged, and that something would be brought up by that Gemini moon. but you're going to have to test it out, and that's where the Saturn helps. The Saturn in Pisces over to Jupiter helps. So you're testing out the information. You're not totally sure yet, but that moon's going to move on before you know it. Here, let's do this. Let me get to the days. Come on. Oh, there we are. Let's see how long before it takes to get to, we're already in orb right there. The 17th, now we have the moon trining Neptune. So something can come through in a pretty fast moving flow. And and you can see that by then Venus is moving out of that orb with that opposition to Mars. So that's helpful too. So, okay, I think I'll go ahead and stop here and get this uploaded, and wish you a wonderful rest of the weekend and all next week, and until I'm back again. Okay, bye.